Hello, welcome to Reframing Mindset Podcast. We are clear my head of the thoughts that are preventing clarity and practice my speech, among other things. Episodes range from informative knowledge to funny stories about my experiences, and in the future, maybe include interviews. So subscribe and enjoy. Episodes drop every other day. Okay, welcome back to Reframe Mindset Podcast. My name is Constant Brooks, and this episode is something very much realize with perspective again. Is that you always see some people in certain situations, and you'll see you know that situation is really stupid. Why would they be in that situation? But not knowing that that situation would is a way better situation than where they were before. So they would definitely choose that to compare to um to where they was before, because that the situation they were in before was way worse. And it's one of those things where you know back when I just left university or stuff like that, and I was trying to figure out my way. And if you listen to the podcast, you realize certain thing was that I was not really a politics person or anything like that. I was not interested in politics or like that. I was just interested in what I like was anime games and all those stuff. So everything was just to enhance that. But when you left university and become an adult, you have to gain income. When you gain income, you get taxed and all those stuff. So eventually, you have to actually learn these stuff and stuff. So I was actually kind of or interested in learning about it, and I was interested in now is learn about all these stuff. And then what happened was that election came, and I see how really limited, So when I go to university, doing the degree that I do, you learn a lot of advanced stuff. But when you come out and you see the politics, it's some basic stuff that they're doing, and I say like, oh, I hear that, and be like, oh, I hear that, you will see the advancement, and be like, oh, and you be like, really, this is what people cheer, go on about and stuff. And so that was me when I just left university. That was in 2018. So fast forward now, 2024. Unfortunately, my grandmother passed and stuff. I can now understand why, with perspective, where sh- when I was out there just bashing the politics and the stupid stuff that they were, the politicians were doing, she was, you know, she was bashing us well, but her she wasn't as angry as I was at how things, and for two reasons. For one, I know and I understand that I could really do a better job. Yeah, I could try to do something, but no, I'm not at the time. You know, I could speak about things that I could do, but I was not strong enough those times. And the thing about it is that I can and I'm not doing the job that I'm doing now, and it's a big company. I want to realize just to do one task, it's a lot of moving people. So you'd hear me speak, you would say, okay, I'm doing one step task, but it's a lot of other people doing a lot of tasks at the same time just to ensure that a certain job is done. And you will say, wow. So you feel like I'm this important person in this company, but no, I'm just one person doing a task. And my task is important, but it's a lot of other people moving around doing a lot of other tasks just to make sure that this one task is actually doing well. So with that perspective, you realize that, yeah, I was thinking small. I was thinking small, but I was not wrong at the time. But the second thing is that we didn't realize is that the perspective of the times that she was coming from, that was way better. That situation that we had in 2018 up to 2020 and seeing the election and all those stuff, that situation, when I look back and gone through all those stuff to me 2024, she was in a way better situation than when she started. So we get a perspective of the time that she was coming from. She was coming from a time when there was no official government. So they having a government now is a we having a government now is really a huge upgrade. So it's like one of those stuff where be like I could always bash it and all those stuff, but no understanding that no, yo, it's a privilege now that we have. No, it's not really the best. Unfortunately, I can't go out there and tell them that, bro, you're doing something stupid because that's the thing about the elderly or an older person. When they have power, you always think you're right. They can't go there and tell them that, oh, we better do it this way. You just have to see it and be like, oh, better you just move your way and just move your way, and eventually, if they're smart enough, they will try to pick up. But you can't really force them. You can't really force them. But the thing about it is that what that was the thing that I realized that the times that they were coming from were time not realizing how old or how far they are coming from. You say, okay, these things are not the best or not the ideal. Just like this podcast. But it's way better than where we started from. So the the bad things that were experienced during that period, I guess it just lessons to propel us to into the future to make a better government and stuff where it's competent stuff. Ideally, uh, that's the, I do science, but for the government stuff, ideally, what a government, a competent government is that, bro, just do the job, do it well, so that we don't have to really do it again. Ideally, that's the thing. That's the goal. But that what you realize if you go into politics is that you actually go, and people will just come and listen. This is my views from the outside. When you're inside, they can't really tell. But you go in, boom. And the thing about it is that you can look for it from two sides. You can look upon it and the fact that the proposal and the things that they're trying to do it for all the citizens. So say 2 million people. So you would say, oh yeah, it's actually hard. It's actually hard. So when they make these promises, you can't expect them to just as they go in, implement them and be able to do it. But at the same time, if you know you can't do it, why the hell you telling people that you're going to do it? Makes sense. And that was the thing where when I just got interested in politics and stuff, I was looking at another election. I see this person now, which was really more younger and more educated. It's a different kind of election in a different country, and it would be like, yo, this person just giving you the real truth. Be like, yo, I can do certain stuff, but yo, if I give you the real truth, um, that's how you know we can do certain stuff. But the government is not really that um fast where I can do a lot of stuff. But if I get in, I can do certain stuff to push the things forward. And then boom, get on a real stuff, and then boom, he lost terribly. Thought he lost terribly. And what I realized was that the older you get, the more you stick to what you know. Just stick to the evil that you know, stick to the evil that you know and stuff. And it makes sense. It makes it makes sense. It's that it makes it better. It's best you stick to the evil that you know until you understand the new evil and able to assume that risk. Because when is as I said, this progressing in life is really difficult. And the thing about it is that what you're gonna realize in life is that evil people listening right now will listen it and give you a logical perspective, but you'll think about it emotionally and say, "Oh, you hate him," and all those stuff. What if you actually realize, that's one thing about the podcast is that I just come here and just record and just leave and done. I don't really care about it because what happens is that the podcast is just me giving you my perspective, and the reason why I give you the perspective on the podcast is that what I realize in real life talking to people is that when I give my perspective, it's either I can't either I think I am explaining it very simply, where if I explain it very simple, my point simply, you you come asking a lot of other questions trying to make my point look stupid, because what happens that boom, I give you the answer, then you try to um disprove the answer. Not so I not to disprove it so that you can learn, disprove it so that you can make me feel stupid. And then what happens is that throughout the whole time, this whole conversation of me trying to explain to you, you don't make any progress. You go back to the same mindset that you were, and then I wasted my time actually talking to you. And it's like, So what I realized doing that in this real interaction was that podcast is just a way to just basically just develop my way of practicing to give my perspective. Because at the end of the day, what I realized is that I accomplished most of what I wanted. I'm in a great position now, and still progressing. So wasting my time trying to explain something to people who just completely reject the thing. It doesn't make any sense. It makes sense that actually just do the thing. Podcast give you the process, and then you can take from the process and do it better. Simple, simple. But what this episode is basically is that they never judge a person, even even in a stupid position, or a position when they're that seems stupid. Because what happens is that you may not realize that that position that they're in is in a way better position compared to where they're coming from. So that's one of the things where you have to be like, it's really complex. Where you be like, you'll be like, yo, why would you see a person on the street and be like, oh, with all these opportunities, bro, why don't you look at work or something like that? And it's like, why do this? And it's like, maybe you don't know, you don't know how far it's coming from. Maybe it's this close to getting a work. Maybe it just he made so much progress now, he's still catching up. But maybe it's this close. Maybe by 5 years' time, he'll get a work. Just like me, where when I just left university, it would take a long time to get a work where I'm from, because I said this again with the episode where you you ask why people in a stupid situation or stuff like that, where I'll go to interview and just give them the basic answer like, bro, I can get the job done if you just teach me. I could get the job done. But if you realize a business, well established, they will stick to the formula that they know. The formula that they know is that teamwork and all those stuff are important, and it's actually important. But what the interview is basically you trying to explain that, oh, I'm a great team player and all those stuff, without actually say, bro, I'm a team player. If the job done needs to be that, I need to play on a team. It if I need the money, it makes sense that actually I have to play the team role. Like I'm not Superman. But thing about it is that you would think that way, but you don't know why the business will go out and be like, why we have to do the thing trying to get the person to say, yes, I'm a great team player and all stuff. You don't know why. But maybe that is the best situation that they came up with and it works. So yeah, we can't judge. That's one of the things that you can't judge a system or place a person is in. You just have to just be like, yo, you have to just it, understand it, or mind your own business. Either you mind your own business, or if you, or if you just try to, if they want assistance, try to give them assistance in the way that you propose. They reject it, you just reject it, or stuff like that. But if they reject it and not stuff, take the time to understand why why that position they're in that position now. And if you look at the past, you maybe realize, oh, you know, maybe that is the best position that they could have been given the circumstances, and then you can work from there. Then you can work from there. But the thing about it, the two important thing from this episode is that you can't really. The world is complex. That's it. That's the first thing. You're dealing with a lot of people, and the thing is, what I realize every day I'm waking up, new people are born in. I'm getting older, so it's like you can't, you know, new people are born, you're getting older. So what happens that my perspective is actually getting outdated or quicker. My perspective getting outdated quicker. So it's like one of those things where I realize that yeah, it's one of those things where you have to be like, okay, you can't out here be job mental because one day you'll be the end up being the person that is being judged and stuff. Just like I was in the company talking to the person younger than me and giving my perspective and realize that, bro, this person don't realize that, bro, I'm coming from far. I'm coming from a time when I could not even get to work. I'm here. But but the thing is that and he came in with a different perspective. And what I had to realize in mid conversation was that he would never get it. He would never get it. So why waste my time out here trying to explain to him? And that's the thing where now with my grandmother and stuff like that, I realize that I would maybe never get it until I'm at that time. I'm getting piece by piece, but I would never fully get it. The thing about it is that she was my grandmother, so that means that she raised multiple generation. I didn't have a child yet. So it's like I can never get it until I reach that stage where boom, I'm a grandfather. But the thing about it is that she even had great grandchildren. So that's the thing where I would never get her perspective until maybe at least when I'm 90. At least when I'm 90. Then I will get a glimpse of the perspective. When I'm 90 and I'm maybe a grandfather, have great grandchildren, that's when I will kind of get it. Until then, I would never get it. And now I actually realize that, and I can't judge it. I can't judge it. I be like, yo, that's the thing about life. You can't really judge a person. You just what I always say that try to learn from the experience, take the good from it, and take the bad. And I think about it that no updated version of that is that the good and the bad are relevant in that with the complexities of life, you see certain bad stuff. Like for example, boom, a person drinking all day and stuff like that. And I realize that that could be a great coping mechanism way better than the alternative that he would have done. So, how coming out like, oh, why there's so many bars and all those stuff. Bars, alcohol really destroy health, cigarettes and all those stuff destroy health and stuff like that. But yeah, that is a way better coping mechanism than certain alternative. You not maybe reach that advanced point where you be like, okay, I can come off of this. Let me just take my time, come off of this alcohol, focus, get my work up, and then when I'm in a better position, now I can celebrate casually and stuff like that. You know, most people maybe be not at that stage, or maybe they pass that stage, reach that. Um, and I'm looking at a person because I'm young, you know, and when I'm talking about these alcohol bars, I'm talking to a relative older person. So you either be like older person that is basically achieve their goals and just basically in their close to retirement or retirement phase, just basically enjoying life and just drinking and all those stuff. You're looking at that. You're looking at that phase. But the thing is that I am not at that phase. I'm basically still building. So those privileges now is just basically minor things I could actually have at a one time, but not now. So you have to really understand your phase in life and not judge another person's phase because you don't know. you know. So that's the thing where, you know, I would judge my prime minister and stuff like that, and that was my perspective, and I still have that perspective. The thing is that I've actually never met the man, and the thing about it is that if I actually met the man and tell them some ideas and he actually implement them, something would work. But the thing is that after all these years, I've actually never met the man. So it's like, all I've ever done is that either see them on TV or Instagram. That's the thing about the government people. You only see them on TV or Instagram. You see some people seeing them on TV. You see the people meeting them and all those stuff. And all those stuff. And be like, those things I realize that, it's glad for them. I'm glad for them to actually meet the man and actually do and talk to him. One of the things that I realize is that, yo, when I get poor, people just really feel. And the worst thing is that when I get poor and actually don't do anything about it. That's the worst waste of time. Worst waste of 4 years. Because what happen is that you come out, boom, and you feel that you basically do something good. But at the end of the day, you're just basically going to. Because the thing about it is that, the worst, because I'm so one of the previous prime ministers that actually, mm, he died like a year after I left university. I was he was one of the big man that people praise and say, yo, he did a lot. And the thing about that, he did a lot in his time. But when my time came and I actually went to the city that praised him, I realized that a lot of the stuff that he was praised for are actually run down. So he didn't actually get to maintain, the stuff that he actually did. And that was one of the bad. That's this thing that I'm talking about. You go in politics and say, boom, you're gonna make all this change and all those stuff, and you do it, and you're being praised, but you don't have the plan in place to maintain it. I It's not something bad. It's not something I would knock on him. Maybe it would be the best thing he could do at the time. But going forward, that would be a better approach. Now that we know better, say, okay, you make the change, but have plans in place to actually maintain it so that it's actually kept, maintained, and updated. You learn that now. But the thing is that, boom, he died in 2019. Those time, boom, I just left university 1 year after, see the big funeral and all those stuff. When I was at my grandma's place. And, she's, and the thing is that this prime minister, that prime minister actually mentored our current one. So and I actually never met none of them. So I can't really tell what he mentored him on. But the thing is that my perspective on politics hasn't changed. There's a lot of corruption and all those stuff. If you actually, what I actually learn about it. So it's like, what you may actually learn from the mentor is it's more corruption. So when I actually go back and see the place that he actually and see how run down it is, it's like you can't really expect anything better because if you're mentored, if what what you were taught was bad business, then what you're gonna teach is bad business. So it's like that's the thing where if you basically would learn bad principles, you just go out and teach bad principles. So you can't. It, so what happened was that what I'm saying is that you will see uh the prime minister, boom, he came in, did his thing, and he was being praised. Big prime minister being praised and all for all those stuff, and people saying that they just loved him and all those stuff. Because when he was there, a lot of people came out and be like, "Yo, big man, I know going to miss him forever and all these stuff, miss him forever and all those stuff." And what happened is that what he did a lot of stuff for the people in that era and that time. But when I was actually born and those time, I was seeing him in his older years. In his older years. So it's like I'm seeing the end result of his work, and a lot of his work was run down. That's at that time. So what the people were talking about were his glory days. What you were talking about were his glory days. So what happens that now current prime minister now would be trying to run off his glory days and try to do better stuff. But the thing is that his politics was good for that time. If you're trying to change something like try to do something different to push it forward, it can't really come with if you want to go forward, you can't really go do old stuff. You have to try something. You have to do something new. But if you but the thing is that when you're with a country that is used to a certain I say it's really complex. It's really complex to explain. But the thing is that what basically this episode is saying is that um you you can't judge where a person at even if you're in a better position. You can't really judge them. Alright, because what you don't realize is that you don't realize how far they came. You don't realize how far they came. So it's like you say, yo, they in a position that is bad and you're looking down on them and things like that. But yo, in his mind, he'd be like, yo, I'm in the best position, bro. Yo, I'm really I made a lot of progress. I'm really glad for myself. Just like boom, yeah, when this episode release, yeah, I'll make a big progress, a big change that would change a lot for me. And it's like what people the thing is that I will make the purchase of that thing and be like, oh, it's so stupid and insignificant. And most people have it, but they don't realize the significance of it to me. That's the thing, you don't understand the significance of it to me. So it's like you boom, I will get it and be like, oh, something so simple. But boom, it will change the game for me. And the thing is that in my mind, I would say, yo, it will change the game for me and a lot of other people. But in reality, it will not change much at the present moment. But over time, you'll see the change and be like, oh, that's why. So that's the thing where you can't, it is, you can't judge a person's perspective at the time because they don't realize how far they came. So what happened was that I was judging my grandma's perspective, not realizing that, bro, she was coming from a time when there was no government and none of these stuff that I'm privileged to have. So it's like, yo, I have to appreciate these privileges that I have now and then build on it. So that's my dated perspective on it, where I be like, yo, I have to appreciate those stuff, but then implement, build on it. So that's basically it for this episode. Thank you for listening and look forward for the next episode. Mhm.
Well, this is the end of the episode. Thanks for watching and look forward for the next episode. To support this podcast, go to anchor.fm/cssb/support or become a sponsor for this episode. If you have a product that you want to have more exposure, DM me on the Instagram page, Reframing Mindset Podcast, or on Twitter at ReframingP. Either way would help. Thank you regardless for listening, and here's a preview for the next episode.